All yours, Commissioner.
Thanks, Governor. My name is Basil Seggos. I'm the Commissioner for Reefs. It's a new job. Great job, though. So we're steaming south right now out of Shinnecock Inlet, right towards the Shinnecock Reef site. It's a 35-acre site, depths between 74 feet, 84 feet. Has been designated for a long time, hasn't been used in decades. And what we're going to do today is actually drop, as the governor noted, we're going to drop boats, actual tugboats from the Canal Corporation, two tugboats. One of them is called the Reliable, and that's been fully cleaned. Scow, which is basically a barge used on the canal system, and then a smaller tugboat. All of them are extraordinarily old and not being used. They hadn't been used in maybe 20 or 30 years in some cases. So they've been literally sitting upstate, and this opportunity came along, the vision of the governor, to put this in play. And this is going to be its final resting home, as Tony Deloney has said, stage 4 material. So we'll drop this in. You'll have a chance to see boats that actually scuttled. Those will drop down. Once we take a look at those being dropped in, then we'll move over to the Tappan Zee Bridge material and this dramatic reuse of this concrete and steel that would otherwise have just gone to landfill. So this is really a fantastic use of our materials. I think actually it's not a matter of weeks when the fish will find this. It's a matter of hours. Really, when the sediment settles from this event. And you'll see, in fact, fish starting to move into this material almost right away. We'll be back here, DEC will, in 2 weeks to go down and take some pictures, see what's come back. It will be dramatic. It'll be dramatic in the sense that now fish have found a home. You know, the surface of the Atlantic in this area, the bed of the Atlantic, is naturally very flat. There aren't many natural reefs, so when you add some structure down there, it's natural habitat. So we're taking stone and metal, which has no environmental value, and actually allowing it to create this great environmental value by attracting fish. So year one, it's fish. After year one, you start to see some of the crustaceans, crabs, lobster, some of the crustaceans that will adhere to the structure. 5 years down the line, you won't even see the structure. It will effectively be a natural reef. So that's really when you get to respect the power of nature to take structures like this that are otherwise just debris, and now create great habitat out of that. So it's an exciting day. Almost 1,000 tons of material, or more than 1,000 tons of material, will be dropped in the ocean today. As the governor said, this is going to continue all summer and really indefinitely. This is a program the state had many years ago. I mean, the first reef that New York that was ever created was the McAllister Reef, just west from here, when two tugboats were sunk back in 1949. It was a partnership between our former agency, and the Navy. And then it just came in fits and starts over the years. And as Tony Deloney has said, it's never really been done on this scale. And we're doing this because we respect the environmental value of it, but also it's really important for the economy and really reflects our ethic as a state. So enjoy. Seems like it's gotten calmer. Not in this area. This area is fairly well marked off. It has been for years. So I think all the trawling fleets are aware what's down there. There are, again, from back in the 40s and 50s, there are some structures down there. So they're not going to trawl over that. Yeah. Yep.
You want to talk about the other 6, what the timing is for those?
Well, so the governor asked what's the timing on the other six reefs for this summer. All of our work is underway right now. Our preparations are underway for full mobilization throughout the summer. We've got DEC, DOT, NYPA, Canal Corporation, and certainly the governor's office thoroughly involved in the logistics of just moving this material down. So really over the next few months, all the way up until the fall when it becomes too cold, we'll be running operations, running material down here. So we're starting here in Smithtown. I believe we'll be heading west from here. There's no choice but to head west from here. This is the furthest east reef. And then we'll be in Long Island Sound as well, doing Smithtown Reef. That'll be this summer. Beyond this summer, we get past the first 6 and start working on the remaining 6, 12 in total. And this will be an opportunity for the state, not just for this year, but really indefinitely. And certainly we'll have some nice weather over the next few months, I would imagine, to do this. This is the challenging time of the year on the water. The governor knows. I mean, earlier in the year, it's windier. Typically, you just have rougher seas. So we got really lucky today. After a couple of attempts to get this done, we got really lucky today. The swell is really manageable, and that's for our contractors who are running this operation. That's the number one consideration: is the sea safe enough? Can this be done the right way? And we've been given the green light today to have that happen. Any questions? I know you've got some questions on reefs, Zach. So good question. The question is how do we inspect the material and treat it in advance? Our standards are very rigorous, so you can't just drop anything down there. There's some considerations. First of all, is the material going to last? That's one of the first questions. Secondly, if it has contaminants like oil, lead paint, asbestos, things like that would have been stuck to the material over the years, can you clean it? And that's yes or no. If it can be cleaned, then that's what we do. Everything that's going in the water today has been pre-inspected and cleaned to Coast Guard standards. We have the ship that had its engines removed, all the oils taken out, all the lubricants removed. The bridge parts have been cleaned off as well. That's concrete and steel, so it's a bit easier on that front. But anything we put down there has got to be clean and it's got to last. And those are the big concerns. Not just dumped in. In the old days, that might have been how they did it. They would experiment with what would last. Let's drop a tire down there full of concrete. Would that last? We found out it wouldn't. Cars don't last. Some train cars can last. But really the sea is, it's active and it's the corrosive nature of it. So we're picking the right kinds of things that'll be around for generations. Question as to whether this material will shift. I would say that there's no chance this material will shift. It's so heavy. It's so 1,000 tons of material. It's all very dense, concrete and steel. So that'll be in place forever. Won't move around. Yes?
We're talking about basically the point of this is to create habitat.
Correct.
Does it have any effect on rising sea levels? Any kind of barrier for the island?
Well, I would say probably an incremental effect. We're now in deeper waters. The question is to whether or not this has any effect on rising sea levels. I think any chance you can get to reestablish shorelines and create barriers for sea level rise, you take it. I mean, the governor is leading now post Sandy this really ambitious project to bolster the entire shoreline of Long Island, really Manhattan as well, 5 boroughs. This is a very incremental part of it, I would say, because of the depths of the material. It may hold the sand in place to the extent that there's some movement, but this is really a project designed to take materials that would otherwise be thrown away and put them to habitat use.
Can you give a sense of what held this up over 20 years? I mean, why did this not happen over 20 years?
The question is why didn't this happen for 20 years? I think just inaction, frankly. May have been a money thing, but as the way the governor sees it, I mean, this is money well spent because this is an industry that is so important to New York. Right, it's a massive industry. It sustains the tourism economy of Long Island. To make these incremental investments in habitat, as the governor mentioned, I mean, down in Florida, you see these things being put in the water, and they create economies for the local towns. I mean, this is smart environmental investment. As to why it didn't happen for years, I think, frankly, we just didn't have leaders in place who cared enough to hear from the community. So now we do.
What would you say, Commissioner, to the criticism that there's a reef, but we can't fish for, say, black sea bass?
Well, to the question you posed to the governor on quotas, well, right. Well, I mean, look, New York has gotten the short end of the stick, the short end of the rod for many years on quotas. We're fighting that back under his direction, and we're still at the point where, even though we beat back on black sea bass, we beat back potentially a 60% cut in New York's quota. Even though the stocks are at record levels, we now are at a 2% increase. That's not enough. and we need to put our fishermen in a competitive advantage relative to where they've been for now almost 20 years at this great disadvantage. So I would say we need to make the investments in reefs because they help the habitat in general. They help all species come back. But we need to also fight at the federal level, which is what we're doing, to ensure that that New York's voice is heard, and we've got great representatives down there who are doing that for us.
The fluke petition is in. Is there still contemplation of lawsuits at all?
Oh, the fluke petition is in. We're working very closely with the feds on that, and to the extent we continue to get the same treatment from the feds that we have gotten in the past, we're prepared to exercise all of our options, including litigation. Yeah, thanks.
Do you know how this will affect fishing away from the reef? The commercial fishing?
Right. It should help. Part of this is you're creating a habitat that will help populations thrive, grow and thrive. So by creating these sanctuary sites almost where you have fish that can thrive, you have an effect on other fishing areas. You're taking burdens off of natural reefs also, which is our biologists have found to be a real benefit of this. And in general, you're providing sanctuaries really for fish to propagate.
Has the fishing community supported this?
Well, they've been asking for it for years. They really have been asking for it for 20 years, if not more. So everyone's been open arms about this, and we see this as a great relationship with them.